Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co, and this is News and Week in Review, where we go through a variety of news pieces. The topic of the week, yes, the topic of the week is back, at least for this week, instead of the Creator Spotlight, and then of course the videos we covered and the games we covered, links and timestamps to everything down below. Speaking of timestamps, just a little note, I've said this before, but worth saying here and there. If the timestamps in a video that I put up look off, check the description and see if the description is right and the other timestamps are off. Don't get me wrong, I need to fix it either way, but it's just worth noting there's a difference between when I forget the timestamps, which does happen, but it's pretty rare, versus when YouTube decides to be drunk and pulls the timestamps from a prior video, and usually the only way to fix that is to go in, make a small edit to like 1 second, and then save the video again. Anyways, I don't know why I said that, just in case. You should know, just so the next time you tell me, Alex, timestamps are wrong, at least you should know it's YouTube being drunk and not me. Still needs to be fixed though. Anyways, let's go ahead and dive into the news pieces, starting off with, we have some White Castle news over here. White Castle has White Castle Duel, a 2-player only game in the White Castle universe, which is, I mean, the amount of Duel games coming out, they don't stop. They just keep coming out and out and out. This year has really been the year of the Duel games. Maybe it's perception, but I feel like there's been a whole lot of games adapted to the 2-player version of that game. Like in the past, like 3 months alone, there's been, I don't know, Azul Duel, the Isle of Cats Duel, White Castle Duel. Other IV Games has their Scales of Fate, which is a 2-player version of Veiled Fate. I feel like there's a lot. I feel there's more. I could be wrong. I think there are more, and I'm just only remembering offhand. There's a lot of Duel games coming out. Although speaking of Duel games, we have not a Duel version of a game, but rather a Legacy version of a Duel game. We have Sail Legacy coming to you from Allplay, designed by Taylor Rayner, who is pretty good at trick-taking games. He's doing a Legacy version of Sail, which is already done by Allplay. So if you like Legacy games, and if you like Sail, and if you like trick-taking games, this is one that you should definitely check out. Cooperative 2-player trick-taking experience. Anyways, that's what we have as far as this goes, which means moving on over to Asmodee. Over on Board Game Wire, there's an article about more than half of board game giant Asmodee's net sales come from just 5 product lines. Now, granted, you are seeing the picture here, so you can already make some deductions, but guess which 5 product lines they are, because I bet that you can't guess all 5. Without already knowing this as a matter of fact, obviously. But to that end, those 5 product lines are Pokemon and Magic the Gathering, both of those being like their distribution of it. Obviously, they're not their games, but their distribution of it are 2 of their product lines alone, which tells you how big they are, that it's not even their game, and it's 2 of their, it's not their game, right? I'm pretty sure it's not, right? It distributes to retailers on behalf of Hasbro and the Pokemon Company, yeah. So it's not even their game, and it's still 2 of their top 5, what was it? More than half of their sales come from 5 product lines, 2 of which aren't even their games, which is pretty astounding. The other 3, one of them is completely predictable, which is Ticket to Ride. Like that one, like I would have guessed Ticket to Ride. That's not a problem at all. The next one, which is a little surprising, but not crazy surprising. These are obviously based on me being surprised, not necessarily based on you being surprised. But Exploding Kittens. Exploding Kittens is one of their top 5 highest selling games. Again, not even highest 5. The highest selling isn't even crazy. It's the fact that half of their income comes from those 5. That's more than just highest selling. That's like highest selling to a magnitude of whatever. But Exploding Kittens, that's another one. And then the last one, which blew my mind, is Dobble/Spot It. Spot It is a game of matching various symbols, and Dobble is a slightly more gamified version of it, which the fact that they're even saying Dobble/Spot It tells me the Dobble is significantly more popular than I would ever have thought. I played Dobble once on Board Game Arena. It's cute. It's Spot It, but gamified. I like it. It's fun. I had no idea it earned a spot in their top 5, again, not even top 5, these orders of magnitude higher 5 product lines from them. It's just fascinating. I thought it was an interesting article because I wouldn't have predicted that. Speaking of things you wouldn't have predicted, I remember reading oh my gosh, what is it? ICV2? I think ICV2, the industry article. But I remember reading the top 5 highest selling trading card games. Granted, this may be no longer true with things like, honestly, even with Shadow and whatever it is, Shadow and Blood, is that what it's called? But definitely not with Lorcana, Star Wars Unlimited. I have no idea what the numbers are now. But an article from like 5 years ago, the highest 4 selling games, guess what the highest 4 selling trading card games are? Because I'm pretty sure you can for sure get 2, probably 3, and the 4th one I can't imagine you get right. So you can pause the video, put your guesses in. Great, the 4 highest are Magic the Gathering, no surprises there. Pokemon, no surprises there. I'm pretty sure Yu-Gi-Oh! Was the 3rd highest selling, I'm pretty sure. And then the 4th highest selling, actually I'm not even sure if it's in this order, I don't know the order, I'm using my own biases to give you the order. But the 4th highest selling was My Little Pony, the trading card game. That was the, again, not even the 4th highest, one of the 4 highest selling. I don't know what the order was. Anyways, fun facts for you about things that might surprise you. CMON, speaking of things that might surprise you, CMON is going for a degree of higher transparency in their project updates. If you go to this URL, which there'll be links to everything down below, they have a new project update thing to show you all the projects, to show you where they are, and to even give you a current expectation of where they are expected. So for example, you can see that Zombicide White Death is currently expected in Q2 2025. I have been telling my son, okay, I'm patient. I'm one of those people who backs crowdfunding campaigns, and I'm like, whatever, I have so many games I need to get to whenever. It's not a rush. When it comes, it comes. As long as it doesn't flake out entirely, I'm not in a rush. Even Storm Thunder, I couldn't care less when it shows up, as long as it does show up. As soon as it doesn't show up, then I'm like, well, that was a whole lot of money to spend on nothing. But as long as it shows up, I'm not in a rush. But again, that doesn't mean you don't have a right to be upset. That doesn't. You have every right to be upset when something is delayed. I think some degree of delay is to be expected in crowdfunding, and it's complicated, because if you back something for the first time, are you supposed to know how dysfunctional crowdfunding is? I don't think that's your fault for not knowing. But again, some degree of delay in crowdfunding, I get it. It is what it is. At a certain point, you have a right to be like, dude, where's my car? I mean, where's my board game, obviously? Where's my Zombicide White Death? But for me, I'm not upset about Zombicide White Death, but I have been telling my son for months and months and months now that it's coming soon. And he is eagerly anticipating Zombicide White Death. Every time a CMON box shows up, he's like, Zombicide White Death? Nope, it's not that one. He is very disappointed. So CMON, congratulations, you're letting a 5-year-old boy down who's very, very excited for Zombicide White Death, is anxiously awaiting his pledge, and you are severely disappointing him. Just so you know. Just in case you wanted to know, CMON, in case this makes any difference to you. But that said, as far as difference, they have this new project tracker showing you when everything's showing up. So for example, we can see that God of War is expected to show up in 2026, Q1 right now, which I'm honestly a little surprised it's that far out. It's a good game. I do want it to show up sooner, but it is what it is. We will wait patiently for it. Or at least I'll wait patiently. Some of you maybe not so much. They also have a pre-order tab over here, so if you want to see their pre-orders, you can check that as well. This is also a good time to notice that if it's entirely full of green check marks and you don't have your copy, that's a good time to politely message your rep and say, hey rep, can I, not rep, your customer service rep, and say, hey, can you help me out here, because it says it's all delivered and mine's not delivered, and that seems to not work for me. So if you could help me out, that would be great. Super Fantasy Brawl is over here as well. We have Super Fantasy Brawl, the Dead Keep. The Dead Keep expected in Q3 2025. Okay. Now the main thing is, I do wonder this. Someone, maybe I'll do it too, someone take a snapshot of these projections and see how they change over time, because I do expect changes over time. I'm okay with that. But I'm curious, like, how much and to what extent. Either way, this is one of their attempts. They did talk about how their ongoing efforts to improve transparency. They had a whole post that's very nice and friendly. Ultimately, as with all things, time will tell. Again, I happen to like CMON, and I recognize their faults, and I like them anyway, but their faults are still their faults, and you have a right to be upset as a backer about the areas which they're letting you down. That's as far as CMON goes. Moving on from there, we have Kesco. Kesco partners with Bandai to launch Tamagatchi Collections board game. Now, make no mistake, based on Kesco not really putting out not putting out designer games, I'm not expecting a lot from this. But in case you like your Tamagotchi and want a Tamagotchi board game and don't mind something that's probably catering a bit more towards the mass market, well, then you have a Tamagotchi board game coming your way. Coming soon to a Target near you. I mean, I have no clue if it's Target. I'm just saying Target because that's more mass market, but who knows? Who knows where it's going? Either way, that's Tamagotchi Collections. And that is basically what we have for our news of the week, which brings us to our topic of the week. We do not have a creative spotlight. Instead, we are talking about Fantasy Flight, and they're introducing current and legacy environments. So, as our thing over here says, wait, what are we talking about? The short version of this, and this is a whole article, you can go ahead and look through it, lots of thoughts, lots of questions and answers, but the general idea is they announced in their recent fireside chat that they are introducing product retirement and the idea of distinguishing between current environment and legacy environment in their cooperative LCGs. That would be Lord of the Rings, Arkham Horror the card game, and Marvel Champions are their 3 current LCGs. I don't know why I air quoted that, they're just their current LCGs. But for those, they are introducing the concept of product retirement. This is something that if you've played things like Magic the Gathering, if you've played things like Hearthstone for that matter, if you've played typical TCGs in a competitive playstyle, there's often the concept of a current environment. Something like, I think it's often called Standard. I don't actually know, is it called Standard? What's it called? And Hearthstone is called Standard. In Magic the Gathering, it's been so long, I don't remember. I think it's called Standard, but I could be wrong. But the basic idea is you have some sort of rule set around whatever the most, like I think in Magic, is it the most recent 6 sets? Is that what it is? Or is it specifically Do they have a reset period? Whatever it is, they have a degree of, hey, here's all the stuff that's currently in the competitive meta, and then here's all this other stuff which you can play with in different formats. You can play with it in Wild, Commander, who knows what. But if you want the current competitive meta, it comprises of the most recent sets. And a big part of the reason they do this, there's many reasons they do this, but a big part is, first of all, allows them to balance around a non-infinite amount of cards. It also makes the games less intimidating for people to dive into these new systems, and it generally keeps the landscape well balanced and fresh, and also forces players to break out of patterns. You know that fairy deck you loved when Lauren came out? Well, you can't play it anymore because they don't have the cards to support it. It forces players to not just constantly get entrenched into the same best decks ever, you constantly have to adjust as things get expired. It's a great concept. I fully, strongly believe that most TCGs need a standard environment that represents current stuff and not stuff from all time. I am a big fan of that. But this is cooperative card play, and that introduces a whole different conversation here. Now, I'm not going to go through every single point here. I will say this, before I go into my own thoughts and opinions, they do a great job at introducing the reasons that they do this, the questions that you'll have, and then the answers to those questions. I understand the reasons they're doing it. I agree with the questions they have, and I think the answers aren't great. That's my own 2 cents as a player of Marvel Champions. That's my own 2 cents on that. But that said, I still agree with the reasons they're doing it. And I still agree with the questions they have. I just think the answers aren't great. Because the problem we have here is, first of all, you don't need to balance around competitive play the same way you do in, well, again, in a competitive environment. It's a very different situation when you're playing with your decks at home compared with going to your tournament and having that aspect. That's a very different aspect. They do have the reason of intimidation, of the fact that if you dive into Marvel Champions today, do you have to go hunt down everything or not? That's a good question. And if you kind of mentally tell players there's a standard environment, there's less pressure to go ahead and get everything to be in the game system. If you want to collect it all, you'll still have that pressure, but there's less of a pressure to do so. It also opens the door for their designers to not have to be mindful of every card in existence as they create these things. The problem is, and again, they introduce these problems, they kind of answer them. The problem is, in a cooperative environment, these things don't hit the same way. Meaning, I understand why they have to do this. I think it makes sense to do this. You cannot have a infinite pool of content for a game if you want to keep it fresh and alive. The tricky part is, if you are someone who backs these games, or not backs, buys these games, then effectively they're saying new content going forward is going to have some degree of duplication and repetition because we're no longer considering all stuff to exist forever. That's almost inherently what they are saying with this, which makes sense. As soon as you're not considering everything when you create and design, it changes stuff. So if you are a Marvel Champions player, like I am, or Lord of the Rings, or Arkham Horror, you can expect a higher degree of duplication and pre-existing content because it's fair game. I don't mean everything will be a copy. That's not how it typically works. When you play any of these games, they don't just copy stuff forever, but there's a degree of permissiveness in more copying when you have to have standard spells. Think of Magic. If you're going to have some sort of, X red mana fire damage spell, as you expire some things, you have copies of things you've expired or near identical copies because there's no longer that thing in existence, so you can have a new version of it. Maybe you tweak it a drop to make it different, but there's more duplication and less uniqueness as this happens. Again, I understand all the reasons they're doing it. I understand from a design perspective why they're doing it. I understand from an intimidation to the new consumer to the product why they're doing it. But it also hurts those who are going all in on the product and don't take it seriously to introduce it as a current and legacy environment. So that's kind of my semi-short thoughts on this conversation. Again, they go into it, like, these are co-op games, why does environment matter? They talk about that. They talk about all those reasons. The answers I don't think are great. How do they change the affect FFG's approach to design? They talk about those things. Closing thoughts. They go through it all. Ultimately, I just don't think that a standard and legacy environment work the same way in a cooperative card game. And I don't know what this does for the brands. I don't know how this plays out over time. Fantasy Flight has had, at this point, nearly a decade, if not more than a decade, oh my gosh, more than a decade in LCGs under the belt. From Android Netrunner to Warhammer to Star Wars, they've had a ton of these LCGs. Didn't they have a Legacy of the Rings LCG at one point? And Lord of the Rings is probably the oldest one because they rebranded and refreshed it. Arkham Horror and Marvel Champions are the most popular ones, I believe, although I don't actually know what Lord of the Rings is as far as popularity. But in general, these three are some serious games that represent 3 different cooperative LCGs. It's actually interesting if you think about it. The LCG environment has thrived under cooperative games far less so than the competitive games have played out. And I don't know what that says about the LCG format, if that specifically is catered more to cooperative. Whatever it is, the system has worked, but they've also all eventually gone defunct at a certain point, and now they're trying to change up that meta, but I don't know if it's going to work. Let me know your thoughts below. If you are someone who plays any of these games, let me know your thoughts. Like, I guess the most basic thought, let's divide this up into 2 questions. 2 questions for you if you play Lord of the Rings, Arkham Horror, or Marvel Champions. The LCGs, obviously. Question 1, will you in any way treat this as an actual rule set? Meaning, as you play Lord of the Rings, Arkham Horror, or Marvel Champions, will you in any way be like, well, nope, I'm not playing with these cards anymore, because they're not in the standard current environment? Will you do that? I'm curious. And the answer to that is either yes or no. So question 1 is a yes or no question. Do you currently believe, and you can change your mind down the road obviously, but do you currently believe you will actually respect this environment that they are setting? That's question 1. Question 2, I'm going to phrase this to people who are potentially a new player of the game, or someone who's either recently dove in, or someone who hasn't dove in. Does this change make it so that you feel less intimidated and overwhelmed because you don't have to get the back catalog of content? Okay, so 2 questions. 1, if you're an existing person with a lot of content, will you respect the environment? And question 2, if you're someone who's new to the system or hasn't engaged in the system at all, do you think this will make the system more appealing to you? Okay, that's where we're going to end our discussion on Article of the Week. Anyways, there's no Article of the Week. I don't know why I said that. The Topic of the Week. Topic of the Week. Let's go ahead and close this down over here and go to our, well, everything else in this video. Specifically, we're going to start with our videos of the week. So, our videos of the week we had going up on Sunday. We had 8 games if you like Clue. This is part of my series of 8 games if you like X, except in this case, it was 7 games if you like Clue because I forgot one. I had Mysterium in the list, and for some reason I just skipped past it when I was doing the list. So Mysterium wasn't in the video, but it was in the hypothetical list. But my series is called 8 Games If You Like X, and I usually do 8 Games If You Like X. This week was 7 games, but nonetheless it was 8 games if you like Clue, just -1. As people in the comments pointed out, I did miss out on Mystery of the Abbey. That was not an oversight. That was, I haven't played it. I am familiar with the fact that it is considered a good gamified version of Clue, a more designer version of Clue, but I haven't played it, and I didn't feel I could talk about it well. Like, there are times where I'll include a game I haven't played, but I have to know it well enough that I'm able to talk about it without having to do a ton of research, if that makes sense. Anyways, that was Sunday's video. On Monday, we had 2 back and not to back, going over a bunch of crowdfunding campaigns. On Wednesday, we had 2023 hidden gems, specifically 15 games from 2023 that I think are lesser known, lesser whatever, and that they're worth checking out. They're either not rated as well or not rated as much, and they're worth checking out in my opinion. On Thursday, we had the weekly live. It was another organizing the collection video. I'm actually pretty happy with it, honestly. I managed to clear up like 6 more cubbies over there by sorting things around. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling pretty good about where things are. I still have a lot of moving cubbies to do, but as far as condensing and consolidating cubbies, I'm pretty happy. So the next organizing weekly live, probably not this week, probably in a few weeks whenever we do it, but the next one will probably have me. The question is, do I want to move around cubbies on stream, or is that too much pressure? I don't know. We'll find out. Maybe it'll happen, maybe not, but either way, that was Thursday's weekly live stream. And then on Friday, we had the games added to the collection in February, just going over the games I played in January that I liked enough that they're going in the collection, as things constantly rotate and turn. From there, we have the games we covered this past week. We have a bunch. We had Neon Rain going up on Saturday. That was a review where I gave it a 3 out of 5. I think Neon Rain, or did I give it a 3 out of 5? I'm pretty sure I gave it a 3 out of 5. I'd have to double check. I'm pretty sure I got a 3. Definitely not got a 3.5, but I don't think it would have gotten a 2.5 either. It's fine. It's fine. Neon Rain's fine. Neon Rain is unfortunately, I don't think, on the target audience for. It's got a little just, card play and button mashing kind of thing, but I think it's more of a thematic appeal than an actual mechanical gameplay appeal, so it's neither as fun as a rapid fire pace card game, whatever, nor is it strategic. It's kind of in the middle. Great art, great production, but I don't think it's for me. Then we had a review for an Age Contrived going up on Tuesday, specifically for the Pilgrims and, oh my gosh, I can't remember the name of the expansion. Pilgrims and something, or Pilgrimage and whatever it is. An Age Contrived. We have the 2 expansions for the 2 expansion models for an Age Contrived. I reviewed that on Tuesday. Overall, I think that one of them is a very, very good expansion model that I would never play without, and the other one is one that I just don't think adds enough to the game experience for me. Oh, and then the third is the new characters, and that's great. New characters are always great. Later on Tuesday, we had a review going up for Link City. This is a great, fun little party game. I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with it. Gave it a 4.5 out of 5. Ultimately, I think, in an Age Contrived, I gave a 3.5 out of 5. Just different factors in the, well, is a kind of, again, watch the review, Some things I really liked, and some things were just whatever. I gave it a 3.5 average rating for the full package. For Link City, I gave a 4.5. I think Link City is excellent. I do not know if it has longevity. Whenever I play a game, I am trying to be mindful of, do I think that I'm just really into it right now, or do I think I'm into it long term? And a lot of it is me trying to think about the playing experience and how well that will hold up over time. I will say, usually, if I call out in a review that I don't know if it has longevity, usually down the road, that rating does go down. Not always. Sometimes the game will surprise me. But like I remember Acropolis. Acropolis I gave a 5 out of 5. I loved it. And then I said in the review that I don't know if it'll hold up because there's no variety to the experience. And sure enough, there's no variety to the experience, and it has gone down. Like, it's currently like a 4 out of 5. It's gone down like a full point. Again, I still like it. I still own it. It's still great. But player variety, the variety of the experience holds a game up for me. Either way, Link City, I like. I don't know if it'll hold up long term. I do have like 10 plus plays in my belt right now, so it's not coming in with nothing, but nonetheless, I don't think it'll have the staying power of So Clover, Codenames, Decrypto, all of those. But for right now, a 4.5 out of 5. Moving on from there, we have Terminus Frontier. This was a preview of Terminus Frontier. This was a, wait, was that the last thing on Tuesday? Yeah, I got the last thing on Tuesday. Terminus Frontier. Wait, did I do this right? What happened last week? I feel like I'm missing a video. This is Tuesday was Terminus? No. I don't know the dates of these videos. Anyways, Terminus Frontier. On Tuesday, we had a video for Terminus Frontier. This was a preview video. It's a big box, like, Gloomhaven type campaign game. Didn't play it myself, so I can't give you my thoughts on it. Meg covered that one. We had a gameplay of Vineyard that went up on Tuesday as well. Vineyard is fun. I like Vineyard. I liked it more than I thought I would. Vineyard was a sponsored gameplay, so both Terminus and Vineyard are sponsored. But Vineyard was a sponsored gameplay from Pencil First Games. It definitely gave me a lot more to manage or think about as I go through it. It got a shared worker placement dynamic where you're kind of using the same workers as you move them around. Overall, I'd probably give it a 3.5 out of 5. I only played it once, so take that into account. It's an instinctive first impressions rating, but I liked it. I thought it would be lighter than I would personally be interested in, but I did enjoy it. Then we had a preview for Suriya going up on the channel. This was, again, one I didn't get a chance to play myself, so I can't comment on my thoughts on it. And then we had a review for Caper Europe. Caper Europe, I gave a 4 out of 5. I really enjoyed it. I could see it going up, but as of right now, I enjoyed Caper Europe. It is a good 2-player system with a lot to think about and manage as you draft spies and equipment and figure out how to outmaneuver your opponent. That is basically what we have for that, which brings us to that's all the games I covered, which means the videos today. Today we should have 2 things going up. We should have a video for Lorescape going up on the channel, as well as a how to play. I believe we're doing a how to play of Stalker, if I'm not mistaken, but I'll have to double check. You can check the channel and see what goes up. And a preview for Lorescape, which is a terrain system. Think a Heroscape terrain system, but just, different. It's actually similar to the Source. If you've seen the Source, which we covered on the channel, they're both similar and yet different systems. As far as this next week, we have a bunch of things going up. We'll have our 2023, sorry, let me phrase that. We have the games I want to... The 15, is it 10 or 15? I don't remember. The 15 games I most want to play from 2023. It might be 10. I have to double check the video. But games I most want to play from 2023 that I haven't had a chance to table yet, unfortunately. And then my Elden Ring unboxing. The disappearing Elden Ring unboxing should hopefully be going up again later this week for those who missed it. That is basically what we have, which brings us to the games on the table. These, as usual, are all games I hope to be playing this week. I hope to be playing a bunch of these very, very soon. Well, Dead Cells I already started playing on BGA, and now that I played on BGA, I want to dive into the actual table game over here. Final Titan, read the rules for, hope to be playing this one very shortly. Perch and Catan New Energies, I have not read the rules for those, but again, I hope to be playing them very shortly. Hopefully. We'll see what happens there. Anyways, that is basically everything over here, which means this has been your news and week in review, and until next week, or until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you have an excellent week. To all those who are celebrating Valentine's Day with a partner, enjoy that as well. I mean, it's a day late at this point, but hopefully you had fun, and as always, I hope you have a good one.